Ah, the holidays. A time to relax and spend time with loved ones. A time to see what Santa brought you and left you under the tree. Speaking of which, I wonder what he brought me.
Oh yeah. I don't have any decorations. So I don't have any friends. Or money. Proper lighting equipment.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I've still got all of you guys watching at home, right? Don't leave me. Wait, I know what'll get us out of this funk. Blind nostalgia. A time to remember the good old days before adulthood. You know, back when you'd get bummed because you got a pair of socks for Christmas. Whereas nowadays, if you get a pair of socks, it's great because the dryer keeps stealing yours.
Where have you taken them, you demon?
Dirty, rotten machine. It's perfect. In fact, I remember one year when I got a game for Christmas that you guys already know what it is because you read the title of this video. I remember it like it was in a flashback. The Nintendo 64. Man, was this console the bee's knees. You had so many good games on it, especially in the early days. It seemed like everything awesome was coming out for it. Get out of here, PS1, cause Nintendo is coming to bring the big titles. I got my N64 a year later, after it was released in 1996. By this point, a lot of amazing games came out. In fact, when I got the console, I also got 4 games from Santa. My excitement could hardly be contained as I hugged them all close to my chest, along with the console. My dad came downstairs, and I hugged him and my grandmother tight. Secretly, I knew they were the Santa of the house, but I wasn't going to give up free gifts or the innocence. I waited to become a teenager for that one. I dashed into my room and hooked up my new console, trying to figure out which of these games I wanted to play first. I had the classics: Super Mario 64, GoldenEye, Mischief Makers, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Wait, what was that last one? Mischief Makers was developed by Treasure, the same folks who gave us Gunstar Heroes, Dynamite Headdy, and Ikaruga. Quite an impressive resume. It was published by Enix and Nintendo, 2 companies who certainly need no introduction. It came out in America on October 1st, 1997. When it was released, it didn't exactly set the world on fire, it was more of a light sizzle. In fact, most of the ratings it got were pretty average. It was such an odd game to get for Christmas, though. I mean, I don't even remember asking for it. But I wasn't about to walk back outside and ask my folks, hey, what happened to Santa? Did he bump his head and leave this game instead of Star Fox 64? Nah, I wasn't that kind of kid. I knew the other games were going to be full of wonder and amazement just from what my schoolyard friends told me. So I decided to go for the unknown and boot it up. Oh. What in the world did I get myself into? What even is this? It's like Hideki Anno went off his meds again. There is a lot going on in this game that is pretty weird. But from what I can recall, it was an alright game. Okay, so I don't remember much. So why don't we find out? It's the holidays after all, and I have nothing better going on. Why don't we just dive right into this? So straight from the beginning, after choosing your super adult name and lying about your age, we find ourselves with an intro. An intro that is, well, let's be frank, it's just as weird as everything else in this game. We really don't know much else about this old guy or the character we play as or these things that are tearing everything up. Also, and I know this is super racist, but they all look the same. Okay, so we find out the fat guy is a professor and he's been taken by the evil empire. Of course he has. And we play as Marina, the Ultra Intergalactic Cybot G! I wonder what the G stands for, though. I'm not going to think about this one too deeply. And we also find out that these guys are Clancers? Yeah, don't worry if you read that as cancer, because I know I did, and I made a lot of tasteless jokes. The first few levels are there to help you get the hang of things. how to move and such. It's interesting to note that because this was the first game I ever played on the N64, I had no idea what the analog stick was for until I popped in one of the other titles. This game doesn't use it. Instead uses the directional pad. It uses this for dashing, which you do a ton of, so you better build up the strength in that D-pad thumb. Or you can switch out to using the C buttons because it can get really repetitive. First few levels also help you adjust to the weirdness of this game, and the fact that you can run around and throw everything. That's another thing, you don't have a direct attack. You only have the ability to throw and catch things or throw them back. It's interesting to be sure, and later on in the game it makes things like boss fights really fun, but it can be jarring. Especially when you're so used to being a robot and at least having a laser or something. You can also grab these balls. Oh boy. And you can do this! That's cute. This comes in handy for finding items and hidden treasures, or even hidden paths as you progress through each of the levels. You can also use these on different items, and they do different things. You can also shake enemies and get stuff out of them. This is very helpful for finding these gems. The red ones act as currency for the continue screen, and the blue and green ones also restore your health and add health tanks. Also, can we talk about the fact that just about everything has a face on it? Eventually you just kind of forget about it and go about your day, but coming into this as a kid, I wasn't sure how to feel about rattling around balls with faces on them. So far, nothing is too hard, just a lot of flying and balls and cancer kids. Cancer kids! Cancer kids! Soon we meet another one of the game's characters in the form of Terran. Or a Blockman, as he calls himself. Whoa. Dude, calm down. I thought you wanted to save your sister, not enter into some kind of weird shaking relationship. Okay, I'd make more ball shaking jokes, but there's enough innuendo in this game to paint some kind of Freudian Wonderland Bob Ross style. Just such happy little complexes. Whoa, now, this is a level! This is pretty fun, but you do have to do nothing but dash around and make Blockman destroy things. It's not that I'm complaining. As a gamer, it's my compulsion to either destroy everything or talk nicely to people and then destroy them. But this is special. Oh, what's going on here? It's a peaceful scene. Nothing can go wrong here. Just making a few flowers grow in the desert. Sweet mother of Mary! Oh boy, a mini-boss. Which is... Okay, let's talk about some of these mini-bosses because they come up quite a number of times. They are all really easy. Literally, all you have to do with most of them is grab them and chuck them on the ground. As soon as they recover, you can grab them again and again and keep smashing them into the ground until their face resembles a roadmap of Baghdad. Oh, and they're everywhere. There's even a level later on where it's nothing but the same 3 mini-bosses over and over again. Like they are everywhere. Holy crap! What is with that explosion? Was that worm made of C4 or was the ground an atomic bomb? Either way, the rest of the levels aren't really anything to write home about. The next world, though, this is where things get a little tedious. At least in the first stage. Some of the platforming is difficult, especially with the world shaking harder than a seedy motel bed. You thought I was going for a Parkinson's joke. Fooled you. Once you get past this, the rest of the stages here are actually pretty cool. There are some really neat concepts that show up, like blocks being able to come back after the shake of a ball. This can also lead to secret golden gems, which, according to a hint in the game, does something at the end when you collect all of them. These can be interesting to get, but some of the gems require you to fight bosses without getting hit once, which is poopy. Especially for later bosses, where not getting hit is a pretty tall order. So we're making our way through the molten world. B! Kill it! 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 Ooh. Go boom. At the end of all this, we come to our first real boss fight in Migan and Migan Jr. Of course, Migan Jr. is the big one. Har har, funny jokes. As far as boss fights go, this one isn't too bad except for a few minor nitpicks. See, you have to take out Migan first by using his son's fists against him, otherwise he'll heal his son. But after a couple of hits, he's gonna start throwing this ball, and that totally sucks to get hit by. Couple this with the fact that the fire shots by Migan Jr. are difficult to figure out where they're going to hit sometimes, and this boss can be a little frustrating. I mean, you can deflect them, but it can be a little hard sometimes. But after playing the stop hitting yourself game with him for a while, he falls and you save the professor, only for him to get amorous in a creepy way and have you chuck him into space. Yeah, okay, sure, game. You know, hey, whatever you say, man. After this, the Monolith from 2001 shows up and summons the Justice Warriors. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, these dudes are pretty awesome. But we'll get to them as they come up. Just trust me on this one. So we come back to our floating living room in the sky and figure out that the professor we're talking to is actually a decoy. Man, for being a cybernetic being, we are very easily fooled by puerile ruses. So we're onto a level full of snow. Thankfully there are no ice physics. So we come to find out that there's an athletic festival and our professor is the prize. The first stage here is actually pretty cool. You get to learn about this thing called the clan pot that can mix items. It's a really awesome item in the game that doesn't show up much after this, except for as a boss fight or just once in a while. It would have been really cool to have this in much later stages where you can collect things and enemies and throw them in and mix them together and see what you can make, but it's just never really explored much further outside of here, and it's kind of disappointing. We also get to ride a tricycle! But enough fun in games. It's here we get to meet one of the first of the Justice Warriors, Lunar! No, not that one. This one! This fight is kind of fun, but it can be a little misleading. You see these indicators come up saying you can grab him, but unlike the other bosses, grabbing him does nothing. You either have to toss him into his own bombs or grab one of them that he leaves behind and throw them at him. Sometimes he can block them, but other times he doesn't, and you get a solid hit. It's not really that difficult of a fight, which is thankful, but it can be a touch frustrating at times. But with him down, we go to the athletic festival to save the professor. There are 7 events, and yes, you have to do every event. They're pretty easy. Even here, where I messed up and went a whopping 1 in the long jump, I won without breaking much of a sweat. But the dashing events are the real bit that drag this whole section down. If there weren't 3 of them, this would be a lot easier. But the fact that you just have to sit here and jam on the dash button repeatedly over and over 3 times in a row can make this a really, really bad endurance test. Oh, and also, you're not reading that wrong. There is a section where you have to do athletic math.
Extreme Athletics!
Then you play dodgeball against a tiny cat who wants to destroy you. Ah, he's so cute. Ow!
Well, you get so wrecked, cat!
Once you finish with all that, your first real boss fight begins, and this is where I really fell in love with these guys. You see, when you first meet them, you fight them by themselves, but then the second time they come out with these really awesome mechs, which makes the boss fights even more fun. You ride on the back of a cat you just smashed in dodgeball, catching missiles, shaking them up to make them bigger, and then sending them right back into Lunar's face. You can even deflect the bullets and everything. And then he transforms, and you pick up his gun and start shooting him a ton. It's such a good fight, and the music just adds to it. After this fight comes more levels. Some of them are okay, but others are really best left forgotten. We meet Wilford Brimley over here, who shows up after some lore and takes out Marina. This is where Terran comes into play, and oh my god. An attack! A bona fide attack!
Yes! Glory to the punch!
Unfortunately, his levels don't last too long. He has a triple jump, a punch, an upward attack, and a slide that's pretty awful. But for what it's worth, he's really fun to play and a welcome change from the levels that came before. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Marina, but the change is nice. Oh, and his mini-boss fight is also super lame. But then we get the Saiyan health pod for Marina and go to fight Taurus. Wow, really? She's down for 2 chapters, she gets in the pod, and then she's off to go in the next one? I feel like this was a bit of a missed opportunity. They could have really expanded a bit more on Terran. Not to say that the story is anything amazing, but it would have been nice to at least play with this new character just a little bit more. Maybe have him be the one that takes out Taurus. But anyway. You go fight Taurus as Marina, and you just chuck rocks at him, and then he falls over. It's nothing really outstanding. I'm just saying, it would have been better if you could have punched him. Pow! The rest of the levels in this world are frustrating. That's the nice way of putting it. Especially the ghost catching and the tricycle riding. these levels are pretty tedious. And they're not really well designed, I would say, especially in the Ghost one, because you have to get a bomb, and you have to ride clouds, and you have to destroy statues, but sometimes they're not the right statues, and I don't know. It just feels like a wreck. And then you have a maze you have to go through, and these levels are just not very fun. But I'll tell you what is fun. The boss fight right after it. Sasquatch Beta is really cool. You get to boost the gun all the way up and make him hit himself with his own projectile. Yeah! And then we get to pull the leg out from under and slam down his own robot on top of him. Boom! Oh my god, it's just so much fun. This fight is so good. Everything about these guys just adds enjoyment, at least to me. With Taurus and Sasquatch Beta down, we toss our friend onto the other side of the planet just for him to be captured again by this guy who looks like Sharazmabul Zaku. It looks like we're out on another journey, attacking some kind of fortress, and riding a robot ostrich, and facing off against the final member of the Justice Warriors, Mirko. You have to forgive me if I don't cover some of these stages. There's just really nothing here that's that exciting to talk about. Outside of riding a bee, but it's riding a bee. Please. We've all been there. So the fight against Mirko is, well, it's a lot tougher than the previous ones. You see, you can easily miss your window to grab him and take a lot of damage. And once you get a shield, though, you can just throw it at him repeatedly. Though he'll gather it up sometimes, you have to take it back from him. But after you've wailed on him a few times, he'll just lay down. It'll give you some exposition that really doesn't matter. Be warned, though. This isn't the worst of his forms. After another stage comes Phoenix Gamma. This is the portion of the game that you'll probably start to question your own sanity. See, it's a little confusing what exactly you're supposed to do. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to grab his stuff when it indicates, but grabbing both his weapon and his shield makes him a lot harder to hit. And granted, with the spear, you only needed him twice, but you've also got the robot to contend with, which can take a few of your health bars. There are some strategies out there that say just grab the shield and chuck it at him, but this can also lead to a lot of heartache because you have to go hunt for the shield when it's getting knocked around by both the robot and him. There's a lot that goes into this fight, and you can get hit by something simply just trying to pick something up. It can be really super annoying, but not as annoying as the rest of it. So once you get past this phase, the next one's not as bad, but it can still get pretty bad. All you gotta do is boost low to get away from the pecking, and smack his projectiles to get some recovery gems. Just make sure you don't go near the wing, because it will kill you almost instantly. After all this, you'll get the indicator to grab his head, and you can make him hit himself, which is fun. The third phase, though, this is where the annoying comes in. See, he does 3 projectile attacks. He does missiles, he does bullets, and he does a laser beam. The bullets and the lasers are pretty easy to dodge and duck around, but if you get hit once, you're pretty much locked in position. There is some window to get out of it, but for the most part, your health bar is just going to get melted by this onslaught of attacks. Be it the bullets or the laser, it all sucks to get hit by. But this is actually one of the simplest of the phases, and also one of the coolest to watch. If you manage to catch one of the missiles, this fight is over. Just turn it around and throw it right back at Mirko and blow him to bits. It's so satisfying when you manage it. After this, you get some more story, finding out that Wilford Brimley is actually the brother of the professor, and he's been the monolith this entire time. Somehow. Now you find yourself fighting the monolith, using a dictionary. I'm not making this up, it's on the screen right now, you can see it. You grab all the negative words and shake them into positive words, and throw them back at it, or him. You know, if I weren't playing a game from Japan, I'd be more willing to ask a lot more questions. But you defeat the Slav, and Wilford Brimley shoots a beam of energy at Marina, only to hit the professor. And then he dies! Nah, I'm just kidding, he's fine. Until you throw him out of the airlock. Now he's totally dead. There's a black hole in the middle of that galaxy. But there's absolutely no time to rest. Because the Justice Warriors want to fight you with their giant mech. And it is a really easy fight. It's actually jarring to think that the Mirko fight before was way harder than the last 2 bosses in the game. But it's still a lot of fun. You catch its leg and throw it around like a rag doll. You catch its fist and throw it back at it. You deflect its bullets, dodge a laser, and eventually it goes down with a boom. Seriously, this is why these guys were my favorite part of the game. The fights were so much fun, and they each had their own personality that came out in their voices, their action, and even in their mechs. And that's it! Now, I would show you the ending, but the only way to see the full ending is to collect all the gold gems, and since I only have 7, I don't feel like going back and collecting them. I'm not all that concerned. I can always look it up on YouTube or something. So that was Mischief Makers. So the real question here is, does the memory of it hold up? Actually, I think I like it a little more now. Okay, it isn't a perfect game. It suffers from control issues sometimes, the characters are kind of randomly thrown in, and the story is all over the place in my opinion, but you never really care much about what's going on because there's something about this game and the charm that it holds. The music is great, and there are some pretty great tunes that stick out. The Justice Warriors are a lot of fun and probably my favorite part of the game itself. Flying around and throwing things feels satisfying when it works, and there are some moments that made me chuckle a little, like when the professor gets fooled by the fake Marina. But I'm not going to deny that there are moments in the game that are very tedious, like the aforementioned finding the kids level, and the ghost finding level, and some of the others that can feel like they drag on for a while. It's by no means a perfect game, but honestly, it didn't have to be. And sure, the other games I got for Christmas vastly outshined this one, but I still picked it up occasionally and went back to it because it was such a weird and crazy journey. At the end of it all, Mischief Makers is just strange and fun enough that I'd recommend playing it at least once. Just brace yourself for when the game decides to ramp up on difficulty or when your thumbs tire out. But other than that, I was happy to have this as part of my Christmas collection of memories for years to come. Thanks for watching, everyone, and happy holidays. I hope you all enjoyed the video. For more Christmas cheer, you can see this video here where I attempted to play Happy Wheels. Or you can click here and watch myself and Tony play Viscera Cleanup Detail where I work the mouse and he works the keyboard. I hope you all managed to make some good holiday memories for yourself too. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.